If you believe in Bitcoin's correlation to the M2 money supply, that would mean that at the beginning of August, Bitcoin would be sitting above $135,000. In today's video, we'll be talking about this. We'll be going over the recent Bitcoin price action, and we'll also be going over what we can expect for this upcoming week. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So here it is. The math is out. By early August, there's a 95% probability that Bitcoin will be between $135,000 to $193,000. The average sits at 161K. These are the levels you should expect if you believe the correlation with M2 money supply will hold. Now, you know that I don't necessarily believe in this and that we will likely just chop around over the course of the summer. That has been my thesis since well before the summer. Now, right now at this point in time, you also know that I have been shorting this market with my invalidations above these levels. The reason being, we are still in this range and Bitcoin looked like it wanted to roll over, especially at around the 106.2K daily support level. Let's quickly hover over to the liquidation chart to give you an idea of what I'm looking at. And that is, right now, as I'm recording this video, there is a lot of leverage all the way up here to 109K to be liquidated if Bitcoin were to just slightly roll up. I still think that we're favoring a little bit more of a downside move, but I will not ignore the fact that we could potentially grab this liquidity before that happens, because right now a lot of people also started to go long. And you can see that over the past 30 days, there are now more longs in the market, as we've been covering on the channel. Now, just at the beginning of last week, when we longed Bitcoin right around $98,000, there were way more shorts in the market, which also added to my confidence in longing the low all the way up to these current levels. So what you can see here is that we got the shift in the market. And right now, while it's still relatively even, the longs are outweighing the shorts. So keep your eyes on this. We are very close to liquidity right around $109,000. And we're also starting to pile up quite a lot of liquidity near the bottom of this range. Now, I'm not calling for a Bitcoin drop all the way down to below 100K immediately, although I do think that over the course of the summer, we will have an opportunity to buy Bitcoin below 100K once again. I don't think that this has to happen right away because we got a pretty aggressive move to the upside here. My next targets would potentially be if we get rejected here down into a lower level, potentially right below $104,000 at the 103.7K support level. Now, I hope I've made myself clear because I've had a lot of comments on my recent videos saying, what, you only tell your Telegram community members what you're actively trading? That's the whole point. I have a group that you can join for free. That is the first link in my description down below, and they get priority access. Now, I'll always be updating you on the channel, but this is the current trade that I'm in. Again, I have proper risk management. If I lose 1 to 3% of my portfolio, I'm perfectly okay with that. So make sure you're employing proper risk management if you're trading this current price action. Also, this is not the kind of range where you want to be trading if you're an inexperienced trader. I like to make calculated bets, and this is one of the bets that I've made. So let's see what happens, because Bitcoin today actually got a pretty nice pump all the way up to around 108.5K, and now we are slowly starting to roll over. The question is, are we going to get another aggressive wick up here to liquidate a lot of these shorts, or are we just going to start gradually rolling over? Because you can see that this wick over here that was actually set on June 16th is a very important wick. It brought us all the way up to just below $109,000. If we were to break through this level with confidence and close above this range, at that point, we could be expecting higher valuations for Bitcoin. But for now, you can see that Bitcoin just continues to chop around. And I don't know how many times I can talk about the same thing, so I am expecting a bigger move as per my recent titles and thumbnails on YouTube. A big move is indeed approaching. The question is, will it be exploding to the top of this range, or will we come back lower? Or if you believe in the M2 correlation, is Bitcoin going to find its way above $135,000 by the beginning of August? Let's see. I don't think that that's the highest likely case scenario. However, you do know that I also hold a ton of spot Bitcoin. And so if that were to happen, I would be more than happy with those profits. Now, let's take a look at another reason why I think Bitcoin could be rolling over. We've been over this before, but just to update you, we are still flirting with the Valley area high. And so let's see how this plays out. But right now, every single time that we've made it to this level, we've wicked above and then we got rejected and moved lower. And just quickly, as we close off the week, I wanted to give you an update on Ethereum against Bitcoin. The same scenario that we've been discussing on the channel for months now has occurred. We got a nice bounce from the previous low set back in 2019, but we did indeed get rejected at the bull market support band. I told you that if we were to break above this level and hold it as support, at that point, I would be a little bit more bullish on Ethereum and a little bit more bullish on altcoins, because we know that if Ethereum really has a massive run, it will drag the rest of the altcoin market with it. But for now, because we got rejected at this bull market support band, I am anticipating that over the next few weeks, potentially months, we will likely set a double bottom here, perhaps a higher low, before it can really explode after this choppy summer period. If you've been watching my channel, it might be annoying for you to hear me continuously talk about this choppy summer, but ultimately it will be a theme over the course of this summer as we continue to see how it plays out. Now, you'll probably get annoyed about this too. Bitcoin dominance. This is the hourly time frame. Normally, I really zoom out to show you the trend, but if you've been watching the channel, you also know that we've just been going straight up for Bitcoin dominance. However, I did talk about this in yesterday's video, and that is the fact that if Bitcoin were to stay at these current levels between $106,000 to $108,000, we would likely see a little bit of a downtrend in Bitcoin dominance on the shorter time frames. The reason being, this stability does allow altcoins to get a little bit of speculation. However, if we really zoom out, I still think that Bitcoin dominance will continue to increase. But I just thought I'd point this out because we talked about it in yesterday's video. The more and more that Bitcoin stays within a certain price range, the more and more Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to go down. However, as soon as Bitcoin makes its next big move, and as I've said, I am expecting a next big move, whether that's up or down, Bitcoin dominance will continue to increase. And so if you want to have exposure to crypto right now, honestly, Bitcoin is still the way to go. As I shared in my community earlier today, I will be looking at altcoins when the time is right over the course of the summer. I'm hoping that we get a pretty aggressive move down, maybe sometime between August and September, which fuels our next leg higher. And in that move down for Bitcoin, that is when I would be aggressive in accumulating altcoins, not just with my US dollars, but also trading some of my Bitcoin for those altcoins. So I'll make sure to keep you updated on that. And to wrap up this very quick video, let's just go over some news. President Trump says that interest rates should be as low as 1%, and we have a stupid person at the Fed. Every single time that I check in on this topic, there's another insult for Jerome Powell. Also, fun fact, 10 years ago today, Bitcoin was $250. The reason I'm pointing this out in this video is because you don't want to lose sight of your long-term goals. A lot of people get caught up in these short time frames and they try to focus on one given trade to make those life-changing gains. But you know my strategy. I trade the market, and with whatever capital I make, I accumulate more and more Bitcoin, and that is my long-term game. I firmly believe that Bitcoin will be at $1 million per Bitcoin within our lifetime, likely within the next decade. And so, with this core belief, this allows me to feel very confident in accumulating more and more Bitcoin. Obviously, as we head into, for example, a 2026 bear market, I will try my best to time the bottom and accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible at that point. But on a regular basis, I am still buying Bitcoin even at these supposedly crazy high valuations. And speaking of buying more Bitcoin, Michael Saylor came out today and said, in 21 years, you'll wish you'd bought more. And so usually when he shares this chart, as we've been covering on the channel, it just means that tomorrow there will be an announcement talking about how much Bitcoin he recently bought with his company Strategy. And for those of you that think I'm a little bit too cautious in this market, why don't you go ahead and listen to Alex Becker? He said, July, gents, everyone holding alts from here is about to get storybook rich. Congrats to a few men who survived to this point. The pie is completely ours. Guys, I'm sorry, but I don't think that we're going to have this explosive month that everyone is talking about. However, if this were to play out, this would likely also play out, which is a Bitcoin above $135,000 by early August. So keep your eyes on this. I personally, just to clearly state, don't believe that this will happen. I do think, however, that a range between $120,000 to $160,000 per Bitcoin is a reasonable target for this bull market top. But I just don't think that we're going to get there in July, let alone August. And to wrap up this video, let's touch base with the tariffs once again, because we are now getting close to the final deadline of July 9th. President Trump commented on this and said he doesn't think he'll need to extend it, but he could. So let's see how this plays out. If he extends it, I would actually anticipate a little bit more of a downtrend in the market because markets don't like this kind of uncertainty. And yes, the original reaction to the tariffs were completely blown out of proportion. And if you were in my community, I told you that I was buying Bitcoin around $75,000 and buying Ethereum below $1,600 for my spot bags. But I don't think that the market will like this if he goes ahead and extends it and there aren't clear deals in place for most of the countries. So let's see how this plays out. As always, if you want to trade crypto, you have the second link in my description down below, which brings you directly to Bluffin. If you're a whale trader, you can earn some pretty fantastic bonuses, several thousands of dollars. Also, if you're just a regular trader, same scenario. And another quick reminder that my free Telegram community is the first link in my description down below. And that sums up today's quick video. Bitcoin just continues to chop around, and while it does chop around, altcoins are getting a smudge of relief. That being said, when Bitcoin does inevitably make its next big move, I still think that altcoins will likely bleed against Bitcoin, meaning Bitcoin dominance will continue to increase. I'm really looking forward to this next big move because, to be honest, this week has been very boring. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.